Hey folks, Kevin here. Well, it's September 6, 2023. It's going to be a hot, muggy day. There are some mosquitoes. Now, usually we don't have any mosquitoes around here, but we've had such a wet season, and there's still puddles in different locations. But it's a hot, humid day today. And I think it's supposed to start cooling off after today or tomorrow. So it'll be in the 90s today with very high humidity. And so one of the things I thought I'd do is take a break from working over on the new property and come back over here where I was, there we go camera, back over here where I was pulling out all of the trees, all the dead ash trees here. There's still several more, but getting up to where the property line is. And one of the things I want to do is save as many of these trees as I possibly can. So we'll see how I end up doing this, but what I did, I grabbed some of our little flags as markers, and this is going to be a really small little pond. It'll probably have a connection, a narrow connection between this tree and that tree, have a little bit of a reservoir right in here, and I put these flags around to give me room around each one of the trees so I don't damage the roots. Then I have a little bit of a line here to tell me where I want to put some extra soil over here. I don't want to put topsoil there if at all possible, rather put sandy material, and that's along the property line where we'll be putting more trees. We've got several trees we transplanted over there. And then I'll work our way around there, but I thought I'd just start on this side instead of putting markers every place, and see what I can do. Again, any of the good trees that are here I really don't want to damage. And this may end up just being a vernal pool. We'll have to see. But this is always getting wet over here, and I just soon control it to the point where I've got it, pest control, the mosquito control over in this area. And I'll put the spillway going over in that direction over there, and that's where it feeds to pond 3 down in that direction. So it was real muddy, and I was burying the excavator before when I was coming over in here. There's another top of a tree that fell off over there, but I think I'll just push that back in a minute, then come over here and start digging. Maybe over there. I'm not sure where I'm going to start digging yet, but I could use some fill on over there where the log is. And that can be topsoil. I can move topsoil over into here. Big ruts I'm stepping over here. But yes, I can use some topsoil over in here. Here I want to peel away some of the topsoil and put it over in here. I will take out these flags as I'm working here, so I might set up a camera so you can sort of see the progress here bit by bit. Not sure how I'm going to work it out yet. It's sort of an exploration, an artistic process going through it, and keeping an eye out for where the roots of the trees are so I do as little damage as possible and save as many trees. I really like to save that nice single trunk maple there, and that one there, and that little one I'll probably end up transplanting. So I think I'm going to get started now. Okay, so I'm going to try and do some narration during the excavation of the pond and see how this works, dubbing this on top of the time-lapse video. So it took pretty much the whole day to get this accomplished, and the first step I'm doing is in each area that I'm working on, I'm peeling off probably 12 to 16 inches of topsoil. Really, really moist. This has been a wet area. Then what I'm doing right now is I'm peeling out some of the subsoil. That's brown as opposed to the blacker material. Now I'm starting off next to the property line, to our neighbors here just to our east, and the reason that I'm doing this is so that I can not have to move this subsoil later on. So staying right up close to where I'm going to be making a road along the property line, I'm excavating the subsoil out, spreading it out on top of where the little roadway I'm going to be putting on top of the topsoil that's already there, which I've been sinking into. Now our neighbor's property is pretty wet, lots of undulations in the surface, lots of pools where the mosquitoes mate and all, and so building this up will help to separate the areas. Maybe someday they'll want to excavate out that area as well. So what I'm doing is I'm using Elon right now with the blade to help push the material that I'm digging out of the pond on the easternmost side of the pond, depositing it on top of what is a roadway that I cleared the other day. I didn't remove the topsoil. I'm actually putting the subsoil right on top of the right on top of the topsoil. So right now, first I started off removing all of the topsoil, then excavating out the subsoil, putting it where I'm going to want to put the driveway. I know that's being redundant, but as the video goes by here, it's really important to understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. Because I can't remove a whole bunch of soil at a time, this is a 3-foot excavation bucket, so there's quite a bit of soil in it, so I pile it up in front of me, then I use the dozer blade on the front of the excavator to push that pile forward and extend the roadway. But then I have to go back to the same area and ultimately dig out more of the material because it takes quite a bit of soil to build up. About a foot to 16 inches is what I'm building up on the roadway at this time. So Elon is a Takushi TB290 excavator. We've had it for 2 years now. An absolutely amazing piece of equipment, easy to maintain, a real workhorse. I use this as well as a grading bucket on it as well. Right now I'm just using the toothed excavator bucket to do the job. I can taking lots of trees down in the forest with this. This is just the right size machine to be able to take quite a bit down. Now in the area that I'm working on right now, it isn't too bad because there aren't a lot of trees where I'm working right now. So each time you'll see me get off the excavator, look around, and evaluate the circumstances. So there's a maple tree that I'm right next to, I just passed by, and I'm making that a peninsula. And I really want to make sure that I have lots of soil for the root ball. Remember, the maples have a very wide root ball, and so I want to make sure that I maintain that root ball where the peninsula is, taking the topsoil off, and as I'm removing that, I'm putting it in the locations where I want it around the base of the trees. Again, the subsoil I'm putting out there. Now I had put some flags down to help me determine whereabouts as I'm going, because the ground is quite uneven in here from all the moving of trees and the root balls and clearing of all the brush and all. And this was so wet and so muddy that I was sinking in pretty extensively in the past. So by using the flags there, I could see approximately where I wanted to work to, and so I pile it up, reach as far as I can, then push it with the bucket of the excavator. And again, over in here it isn't too bad because I'm not tight in between trees, which you'll see later on. I get really tight in between trees. This won't be a circular or an oval pond. This is going to have like a couple of trees that have significant peninsulas on them, and then I'm going around the big root balls of the rest of the maples around there. And I will end up transplanting one small maple in a few minutes as well. So now I'm moving topsoil to the other area, moving that out of the way. Then I'll start grabbing more subsoil and putting that on where the roadway is going. So more topsoil going off to the side. And some of the topsoil what I have to do is just pile it up. Same thing in the future, you'll see as the video progresses. As I get away from the east side of the property and work towards the left side, the west side, that's more of a hassle. And I'm working more around that peninsula, digging more of the material out, staying several feet, at least about 7-8 feet away from the trunk of the tree for the root ball. And they'll do just fine as long as we got 3/4 of the roots in under the roadway and not disturbing the roots at all. And if I disturb less than 25% of the roots, and I give them a good 6-8 foot between where I'm digging them out and all. Now I'm grabbing more topsoil, and I'm actually having to drive down the driveway some to deposit the topsoil in places that I need to bring up the soil level. So again, this is topsoil, this isn't the subsoil. I'm moving now. And now smoothing out some of the subsoil where the roadway is going. And more topsoil move there. And now I'm getting back to some more of the subsoil. Now I needed more on the southern side. So right now, I'm depositing the subsoil on the south side of the roadway. Putting that there because I need to move this subsoil back south, and the blade is on the other side. So I'm going to go and get the Hulk, which is the Takushi TL12 V2 track loader, and smoothing out some of the topsoil I put over here to the side first, around the base of the trees. Best time to do it is when you're moving the soil initially. Now I'm going over to that pile that you saw I had built up behind Elon, the excavator, taking that and extending the road a little bit wider and going further south as well. So as I'm going backwards on the track loader, that's heading south. And just want to put a nice little base on what was topsoil before, and it is a roadway. Now if I was putting in a really heavy duty roadway that I'd be driving all the time, well, I'd be stripping out all the topsoil. But since this is just along the property line, I'm not going to be hauling any big loads along in here. Just wanted to widen it out quite a bit, separate the pond from the neighbor's property as well. Now getting back on Elon, digging more of the subsoil out, putting it on the roadway, and then I'm going to use the blade of the excavator to keep pushing it, and now we're going to go more and more north on the roadway. So pushing it north. It makes banks on each side of the blade as I go, and initially I sweep it some, in other words, removing the berms that I create on each side of the blade. But as time goes on, I'll leave those berms there for a few minutes. Now I'm just packing down the edges of the pond wall. And you may see that the excavator starts to climb a little bit. And the reason that it's climbing on that road is because I'm putting too big of piles in front of the excavator to push it and push the whole pile. So I've got to make a couple of passes. You'll see that in a couple of minutes. I will leave the berms that fall off the edges of the blade on each side, and that allows me to push more of it forward and less of it falling off to the sides as I'm doing this. But it also creates more resistance, more drag as I'm driving forward there, and of course I get a little bit too big a pile at a time, and you see I bounce up a little bit, and I'll come back, take another bite of it, and try to get that all leveled out. And once I've got it leveled out some, then I go ahead and go back and do further excavation. So here we are, we're extending that roadway to the north as I'm going along, and you can see I use a lot of this fill material from that I'm excavating from the pond itself. And that's still the tree with the peninsula, and I've already excavated around the other side of that maple. Just keep working my way down. Let's see. Now the camera is set up on another peninsula right now. Another maple tree, so it's difficult to see just perspective where I am. So I'm about halfway. I'm making my way just almost as far north as I need to go, but I'm not quite there yet. But it's dig, deposit, push, track it in, compact it down. And this is pretty moist material that I'm digging out of here, so the tracks do start to sink in it as I'm working along, and I fill in my track marks as I'm compacting it down and then refilling them. Now I'm going to go around to the other side. I've gone all the way to the north side of the pond edge. Now I'm going to start going, taking off, moving some of the topsoil I had deposited before, and smoothing out and bringing up the level of the pond, of the perimeter of the pond. Now I'm digging more of the subsoil right here, and you'll see I separate the topsoil from the subsoil. So that's subsoil I'm moving right now, and you'll see when I move back a little bit, I'll go back to the other pile where the subsoil is being deposited. So all the process, and you can sort of see where the base of the pond is coming out now. This is afternoon now at this point. Takes quite some time. It's a very hot, humid day today. And I keep stopping, taking a look, and seeing where I'm going. Okay, now I know I need to put that small tree someplace. So I'm digging a little pocket out, going over, grabbing that small maple, bring it over, put it in. I'm going to support the soil around it, using more of the topsoil there to support around that small maple. Moving the topsoil around, really making sure the ground level is all, maintaining as much of a level perimeter as I can guesstimate from sitting inside of the excavator. It is hard to tell because the whole property slopes towards the back of the excavator. We're in an uphill spot where I'm sitting, where the camera's at. I'm smoothing things around. Now I'm going to go ahead and move to the other side. Probably move the camera again. Keep moving the cameras, and now you can see I'm digging on the other side of that tree. Now it gets pretty darn challenging because I don't have a roadway to put the soil in, and I need to keep the topsoil separate from the subsoil so I can use the topsoil on top of whatever fill I do, and use the subsoil for filling in the deeper pockets where I've taken root balls out and all. But I'm in a ticklish spot here because I'm right in between different trees, and when I'm slewing, when I'm swinging the excavator from side to side, I have to make sure, and it's hard to see because of the time-lapse aspect ratio, how quickly it's going. You can't see. I'm just about, sometimes I'm a quarter of an inch, half of an inch from hitting that tree or the other trees around in there. It's I've got to bring that boom all the way up and bring the stick right in, so the bucket's just about hitting the hydraulic cylinders on the excavator at times. So the tighter I get into the trees, the more of a challenge. Now there's more topsoil, so that's a separate pile. Topsoil goes in one pile. So all around I have piles of topsoil now and piles of subsoil. The subsoil now, you can see the difference between the colors. Hard to distinguish some things in this video because of the way that the sun creates significant contrast between the shade created by the foliage of the trees and the beams of light coming down. So it was difficult to set the cameras up in a way that the video would look okay ultimately. So right here it isn't too bad. My swing isn't too bad because I only have one tree to worry about. Now I'm going to move over into an area where I have 3 trees at the same time that I'm working in between. Smooth that out first, peeling back. Right now I'm just smoothing the area out. Now I'm going to tweak around I've got to get into a different position where there's a bunch of trees. Move a couple of logs out of the way just then. And readjust the cameras again. Now I'm going in between each one of these trees, which is very ticklish in here. You can't appreciate it from the camera angles, but you're really paying close attention to every angle that you're on. And I was just removing a couple of small ash trees that didn't have much of a chance. So I just removed a couple of those so I could deposit some soil in that spot. Again, this is subsoil coming up now and piling it up in between a few trees right there. I'm getting close to the end here. So behind the excavator is where the drainage swale will ultimately go. Again, peeling off more topsoil there. But the drainage swale will end up going right down behind Elon. And what I'm doing now is just bring it around. And I'm not sure how I'm going to end this part. There will be places where I create potential exit ports in this. So if an animal gets in there, and let's say a fawn gets in there and they swim around for long enough, instead of having to go up a 6-foot bank, there'll be places where the bank is an easy entrance for wildlife to get in and get out of, where their hooves could make good ground contact instead of just having to swim up to the bank of the pond. So I'm getting real close here. Depositing some more subsoil in a low pocket there between a few trees there. Real close to where I want to be. And after this section, we'll be able to, I'll take a walk around it. It'll be hard to appreciate the shape of it. It's an oddball shape because I didn't want to disrupt any more roots of the trees that potentially are viable here. And we'll be transplanting probably some shagbark hickories, some oak trees all around this, so it will be a nicely forested area for this pond. And of course the sun makes it challenging for recording here. Taking a good look around and thinking, okay, I think I'm about where I want to be. Now I think I'm just going to go ahead and pack those walls and pull back the berm some. So we are expecting some rain, so I wanted to get at least the main part of this pond done before the rain came. So there we go. Well, I just finished dinner, and just before dinner I did accomplish what I intended to accomplish with digging the pond over here in the forested area that I've been clearing. So we'll take a look at that. I did do some time-lapse video. I don't know yet whether I'll narrate through it or just play it. But the piles that are here, there'd probably be a little bit more than twice as much as there is here. And I did separate the best that I could, the topsoil. So the topsoil, either I smoothed it out already, or I piled it up like this pile here, and this is the subsoil. And you can see it's around the trees. I don't want to leave it there for very long. It's not healthy for the trees. Here's some more of the subsoil here. And some topsoil pile there. Some more subsoil over there. More topsoil over there. And what I did do is I created little peninsulas around each one of the trees. I did damage a few roots here for this maple. You can see, I'm not sure, when I first looked at the time lapse with the sun beating down and the contrast between the shadows from the trees and the sun coming in and out brighter and all, that made it difficult to see. But I really wanted to leave enough areas for the trees to have the root masses, and that tree over there, and this tree over here, as well as the trees over there. So that's why the pond has the shape that it has. And once it's got water in it, then I'll end up doing a drainage swale in that direction going down to pond 3. And not this year, but maybe next year, I'll put a vernal pool in the forest up in that direction that would drain from pond 1, and that would have a drainage swale coming down into this pond here. So this is our 8th pond that we put in on the property, besides the stuff with the beaver ponds and all. So this is what this looks like. And we're well back for this one. These roots here are from other trees that were taken out. Pretty well back from this one as well, and the rest of those. And you hear a woodpecker over here. Maybe you can hear it. And this maple was over there, so I went ahead during the video and moved it over to here. And those are just roots from other trees around it there. And basically all of the subsoil from here and on the other side of that little peninsula there, I used to build up the roadway here, because this is the property line, and this is where I've transplanted quite a few trees, and I'll transplant more right along in here. But you see I did get the Hulk out to move some stuff, but I really used Elon, the excavator, to keep moving the soil here and building up this roadway. Now it needs a lot more work on it, but I at least wanted to get as much of that soil distributed as possible. And the peninsula here for this one. Now there were some small, some growth that came out. One was an ash tree next to the base of this maple, and this also sent up another maple alongside of it. So I pruned those off, and we'll keep those pruned back. And again, that's where the drainage swale will head right down there towards pond 3 later on. But we'll end up seeing where the water level comes to, because I didn't use a transit for this to see where the top of the soil is. I did it all by eyeball so far. And the topsoil I went ahead and put over in here, where there was lots of erosion around the roots of these trees. And I did move that one top of that one ash off to the side. And again, this is the direction going down to pond 3 down there, the swale. Another bit of topsoil over there. And the topsoil has lots of roots from all the trees that were in this area. So it's an interesting shaped pond. I think it'll be really neat and cool over in here after I get the soil out of here, get things smoothed out, remove the rest of the dead trees, and start planting more trees over in here as well. And I will end up putting small inlets. Once the water's up and I see where I've got to top things off, in case some wildlife get in the water, I'll make a very tapered edge for an easy egress in a couple of places, so that the deer and all can get out if they have an accident, or wildlife can get out easily that don't swim well. So I'll do that in a couple of places in here later on. Won't be this year, might be next spring when I do that. But I have a lot of earth to move, and there is forecast rain. Doesn't mean we are going to get the rain, but I just wanted to get this accomplished right away. And thank God for an air-conditioned cab. I'll tell you, that really makes all the difference in the world. It's been a little bit too hot to be working outside today. So lots of earth to move. Lots of filling in to do in here where there's low spots. And I'll fill in over there. Make everything a nice gradual taper on its way down. And I still have the rest of these dead ash trees here to remove. So that's it for today's video. This might be a long one if I put the time lapse in there. But this was one where we could place a couple of cameras in locations to capture the process of digging in. The time lapse doesn't really show very well because I'm moving so quick, but when you're in amongst all these trees, you're constantly pulling your boom and your stick way up so you're not slamming into the trees because you got narrow places to go through. That doesn't show up very well in the video because it's so darn quick, and the angle as well. But at least I got the first phase of getting this pond in, so happy about that. So stay safe, everyone. Take good care of yourselves. And if you like the video, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. I know a lot of our videos that are long, they're just too darn long for people to spend the time watching them. So anyways, thanks so much and have a super fantastic and safe day. Bye-bye now.